Hello, my name's Phil from GR8 Productions, and this is a short presentation on ensuring quality in the production of training materials. What is quality? It's certainly a word that's bandied around an awful lot, but quality means different things to different people. For example, if I was to ask you whether a Rolls-Royce was a quality vehicle, I'm sure most of you would reply yes. But consider this. If you needed a vehicle to carry bricks and tools to a muddy building site, then perhaps a transit van might be considered better quality. It's all about horses for courses. So, in terms of quality, we need to make sure that our product is fit for purpose, our product is packaged appropriately, and we need to make sure that our product evolves over time. We'll look at these 3 points in subsequent slides. Is our training product fit for purpose? Well, this all comes down to planning, and more planning. To start with, we need to ensure that the product satisfies the needs of the organisation we're preparing this material for. And the development life cycle should go something like this. We need some sort of requirements analysis to start with, then we can design our training, develop and test it, then we can deliver it, and finally we may need to redesign it for the next time. Depends on the feedback we get. Does the product satisfy the needs of the attendees, the specific students or end users from the organisation? Ideally, employees, students, end users should have training plans, and they're more likely to adopt a positive attitude towards training if they see that their needs have been assessed. And an added bonus, hopefully, is that they will actually enjoy the training. Is our product in the appropriate format? Well, we may have a PowerPoint presentation for the classroom, we may have handouts, we may have supporting material of various formats, CDs, videos, whatever. And it's a fact that long wordy documents may be appropriate for some applications, but it's worth considering other methods of presentation where they might improve understanding or accelerate learning, such as videos or online training or training on disk, whatever. And in terms of planning, although subject matter experts may not necessarily be the best trainers, their advice should be sought when we're producing content for training. Is our training packaged appropriately? Well, to start with, is it actually complete? For example, have appropriate handouts, CDs, etc. being prepared to support the classroom presentation? Are there enough materials to support a workshop? If there are 20 attendees, we need 20 copies or 20 packs of any supporting material. We don't want people having to share that. That will just turn them off. This all comes down to planning again. Are handouts legible? Well, let me show an example. If this was a slide or part of some sort of supporting documentation, I think I can pretty much guarantee that our audience is not going to be very impressed, and they're going to switch off because they're not going to believe that we're taking them seriously. I have seen stuff like this though, Also, in terms of handouts or any documents, 10th generation photocopies are very poor, and they do send out the wrong message. Is material easy to follow? In other words, is it aimed at the appropriate level? Which actually brings us back to what we were talking about earlier, assessing needs of the organisation and the attendees or end users, students, whatever we like to call them. We need to make sure everything is aimed at the right level. Is the trainer competent and well presented? Does he or she look like they've been dragged through a hedge backwards before coming into the classroom? Again, bad image, and we don't want that. We need to maintain credibility, so whoever's conducting the training needs to be well presented and also needs to have an air of confidence so that people actually believe that he or she knows what they're talking about. In a classroom environment, instructors are part of the package. For example, would you ask a carpenter to prepare training on bricklaying? Of course you wouldn't. In terms of packaging our material, I've said avoid 10th generation photocopies and illegible slides and documentation. And of course there are cost implications with our training material. They must be cost effective, but professionally packaged material, be that slides, videos, online training, whatever, this material needs to leave a good impression, and it's more likely to encourage requests for further training. If our training is going to be repeated in the future to perhaps a new audience, it needs to evolve. How can we make sure it evolves? Well, to start with, at the end of a course or a training session, we really ought to be seeking feedback. And very importantly, this feedback needs to be honest. And it's unlikely to be honest if our audience is keen to get away late Friday afternoon at the end of the course and we're stood over them, getting them to fill in forms. The feedback, in order to be honest, is better if it's anonymous. So we can supply envelopes and ask people to fill in their feedback forms. Or we could even give them stamped addressed envelopes to send back their feedback later. The downside of this, of course, is that once people have left the classroom, they're not so inclined to fill in the forms. But hey, we've got to look at ways of getting honest feedback. And as I say, the best kind of feedback is usually anonymous. When we've got our feedback, we need to learn lessons from it, especially if there's a consistent bad point being raised. We need to learn our lessons and adjust our training accordingly. Historical data also comes into this. When you've had lots of feedback over a period of courses, you can look at the trends. You can see what's working well and what isn't working so well. If training isn't working for our audience, then it really does need to evolve. Having said all that, if something does work well, the old adage applies: if it ain't broken, don't fix it. In conclusion then, we need to make sure that our material is fit for purpose. We need to make sure that all material is packaged appropriately. And very importantly, we need to seek and act upon feedback. This is Phil Cook from GR8 Productions. Thanks for listening.